Welcome viewers. It's a great opportunity to present our thoughts on facades to St. Gobain Glass Academy. I really want to congratulate the initiative by them. Well, today I'll take you to 4 case studies which essentially weave a thought that facade is not just a facade, it makes a sense to the environment, to the building and its occupants. There are 4 case studies. I'll take you to one by one. The first one is called Auto Hub. That's in Kolkata. This is essentially automobile hub which will have showrooms, offices, designer studios, all to do with automobiles of course, F&B outlets, and also have workshops. Basically it's about pre-road workshops, not the full-fledged workshop work. So this was a kind of a program which was asked to be done. Location is Rajarhat. So we had a client proposing to want to do this one, but the scale was quite small. It was only about 1.5 acres of land. So we suggested that why don't you make a substantial viable development and get your adjacent plot owner also to participate in a similar. Together, you make the entire mix more viable. Well, that clicked and it worked very well. That was all about the program and the building. But the challenge was that the building had a south facade. And as an automobile center, they want transparency. So weaving transparency on a south facade was the first thing that occurred to our mind, that was a nice challenge to actually weave together. The other was, how do we take the workshop which is on a high level, to have a facade which made sense to a car or an automobile, it's a character which we don't weave in, which had to do something with technology. There were offices also, they were also looking in front, all the adjacent plots had buildings and we didn't want to look straight into the buildings. Neither did we have a liberty to carve into ourselves offsets of gardens and greens. So it was almost like a tight site, wanting it to say that I want to survive mathematics in depleting real estate. So there where the facade plays an important role, and I want to take you through the journey. So the entire thing started with a site. Of course, as I told you, they wanted a site, they also wanted the building to perform better. So as a green building is okay, but beyond green or LEED certification, what can we do? So we tried to say that, let's get what the city lacks. The city lacked green at all. We didn't have green, and this 1.5 acres barely could provide any virgin green. So we looked also at the program. Can the facade also take care of green? Can we actually have substantial green on the facade without giving way to reduced FAR? There was need to get little quality air induced into the building because south was the highway, and Rajarhat being a developing new town, we have more dust in the air which actually can be tapped in for fresh air. So we had to do some kind of filtering in the system also. So when it came as massing, we could work on the massing which could accommodate a lot of visual incidents to the highway, because showrooms need to be looking straight. More transparency is needed from the roadside. So that is imminent, and we had to provide for that same thing. Of course, we try to push in the idea of having the best performance glass in terms of its UV performance and other ratings, without compromising on the rendering factor and the VLT. Having said all these things, we capped up with a solar farm on the top. We had to make the facade in 3 distinct characters. The lower part was engaging itself with the roadside and had more transparency. The above had an offset with the terrace in green, but above that we had the workshop layer. The workshop which basically caters to the pre-road fit-outs and a little bit cleaning and here and there, to 7-meter heights, which don't need as such a presence from the roadside, but they were actually wanting to take in light and fresh air, and they were not conditioned. And above that, we had offices which had the view as well as everything right in front facing the sun. So we took a story from the top. We had offsets which take care of green. The green would reduce the glare, because normally this huge extensive glass facades add to the glare on the road. So while you're driving, there would be actually a sharp glare on your windscreen, which might be your building actually pushing or reflecting a lot of sunlight and glare on your pedestrian traffic as well as the vehicle. To add to this, we also had a metro which was actually moving at a level almost about 11 meters from the ground level. So that is another kind of a sound that we had to, noise that we had to cater to. So we were actually looking for a kind of an opaque performing facade also. So on the above levels with the offices, we try to take care of layering of PVC cells. And can we actually encapsulate a skin system which will have polymer solar cells that will add not only to the reducing the glare component or the insolation, they will also help in producing energy, so as not to be too impervious to allow for the view. In the lower level, when we had the workshop, we had a skin system which had an exoskin system, had GRC louvers, and that actually boldly, the massing was done in the manner that they were formed building facades, which would actually louver system, which would allow the wind to pass through. In fact, the plantation above would actually increase and increase the green proportionate and reduce the glare to the reflected glare basically. And that filtered air which goes through those green louvered facade, which we tapped and taken inside the workshop, and they can actually be allowed to take inside the air, fresh air from there. Because it was green, we could expect a certain amount of transpiration performance, reducing the heat load. So that would add to a little better performance in terms of the fresh air, reduced temperature. That would add to the indoor air quality and temperature both. In this entire effort, we were giving birth to a huge green facade in the design. And that was making the entire process interesting and intriguing. And this would keep on growing over the years, making it much more greener, because Calcutta as a city, we are lacking a green cover. And the entire effort was, can we add to a visual green? GRC, instead of aluminium, helped us to basically, the louver system essentially, helped us to take care of the extreme heat, because the extreme heat of metal would actually not allow the creepers and the green to grow onto them. GRC allows that to happen. So that was it becoming that. In the lower levels, we had the reflecting water pool, which actually enhanced the local performance in terms of temperature rating, etc. in the plaza areas. The plaza was done basically having the building blocks structure themselves, making a big plaza, which would take care of the second showroom, which will actually have a second car's open air showroom, if I can put it up, or a flea market kind of a system. So not only they were selling new cars, they would also add up to allow Wednesdays or maybe or Thursday evenings to have the seconds open car layout in the entire front area. So it's a building which would actually bring in a culture of how we see cars and how we actually associate with cars. And when we have hybrid cars, we are having cars which would go in electricity. We should also have buildings and facades which would generate more electricity, reduce glare, produce more green, and have a character which is much more sensitive and future progressive. The next project is called Jiva Homes. It's essentially a residential development. But it's interesting because most of the developments make it very intense to the land, and we often aim in compromising the natural habitats. In Calcutta, we have a lot of ponds and water bodies. So building developers intend, I'm saying, put it a little humbly, they often make mistakes in taking over a smaller pond, filling it up. But here we had a development which was initiated in restoring one such large pond, and that became the heart of this development. So this facade is how an intense social housing would actually be centered around a restorative water body, along with how does a facade becomes important in building up a common character rather than a very intense housing. They have usually a flat and very boring facades, and the facades lead to either very expensive, or such social housing lack the beauty of facades. So here we took and that's the idea to present this facades discussion to you. I'll take you to the journey of the project. We essentially had a very tight site of 1.63 acres. 43% was the existing water bodies, which we wanted to restore and preserve the biodiversity. So we were left with a very tight land area, as you can understand, when 40% goes to the water bodies. We had to keep our super built loading very tight. We had to comply to residential Vastu Shastra, that's important. And we were developing, the developers wanted to sell the property at 4,000 rupees a square feet. That means our construction cost should be very well within 2,000, plus the land and other costs would, with your financing and other costs, would actually be substantial cost, about 3,300, 3,400, to save a small margin of 500-600 rupees, such as development. So this was the idea, and the parking requirement was also very critical, about 1.5 cars per unit. We had a height restriction of 40 meters, which brings that if you want to consume the full FAR, it's going to be a very intense development in the entire design. So site was a kind of a triangular emphasis. It had got water bodies as seen here. We didn't have much conducive views all around. So, but we had a little low height development, low rise development. So we were essentially building a view in the center. So the heart was becoming a water body with this biodiversity, rich biodiversity was becoming very important in terms of giving a view. Thought to have ventilation systems, that was very important, how the ventilation system works. The green engagement was very important. That was it, how we wanted to make a focal point. So there were 4 blocks designed to have 2 flanks arranged in a pattern, so that in the heart we can have the water body, the green and the biodiversity. We had to keep the wind access, the solar performance, everything intact. So we didn't want much of the glass because my buildings were either looking into east or west. But we also wanted a shading device to become interesting. So we took inspiration from the water itself. We started understanding how does the water behave when it comes in contact with air and light. When it comes to contact with light, it simmers, we know that. When it connects to the wind, we have waves. Both of them were having a fantastic mathematics. They were all sinusoidal. The glitter was mathematics of light and blinking, which is again very harmonic. And when it came to wind, the waves, are harmonic. So we wanted to have a facade. Can we have a facade which emulates and gives identity to these apartments in terms of its own green area? Because such buildings, such social housing, tend to be very flat and completely dense. So we want to carve in apartment and balcony. And I'm sorry to add what we want to add, that they would have their outdoor units coming and clinging on the facade itself. So that becomes a big problem. So we had this kind of a step-out balcony given to them, 700 wide balcony, which would add to the interest of putting some green. If you want to put your outdoor unit, you can put your outdoor unit with some kind of nice fascia. You want to walk over and clean your facades, you can also do that. So every apartment had this walk-up ranging from 1.2 to 0.7 meter in terms of projection, and that became my continuous step-out balcony, which was inspired by the sinusoidal waves. The planning was very simple in terms of master planning and unit design. Essentially very compact. We didn't want the utility balcony to be seen from outside, so all the utility balconies were inside. There's something very important that we to understand, that utility balconies, we should not bring it above. It's an essential component, but it has to be given the freedom of to becoming ugly. It bounds to be that you cannot have control on utility balconies. How do you contain them within the building envelope? If you really want to control a facade, that is more important in the planning, and that doesn't come by simply facade management. It comes within the planning. So here we wanted to use this within the planning system. So all are inside the core, but they're breathing itself. Each one breathes, and they're well connected and breathing. On the outside comes the interesting sinusoidal balconies going together. Each one of the apartment would have green, personal green. In fact, we were intending to put these green in those bulges of the balcony, so that when you acquire a facade, when you enter a campus with multiple owners, all the owner present to you a character which is unifying character. So this was unifying the entire facade, giving them a green outlook to the entire facade, and also giving a character which said, why this? Why the sinusoidal? Why these curves? All this was actually structured with the inspiration of water, that water which we were actually restoring in the lake. So the heart and the content and the importance of this lake became the real inspiration for the facade, and the facade which not only gave shade, it also gave a character in the green to the entire green, vertical greenery to the entire building mass. You can have a view on this elevation which shows the shiny parts as a sinusoidal, those simmering points. So all the bulges were essentially becoming the simmering points, or all the depressions were adding to shade and shadows. Without an additional cost, they were giving a character, and we actually mapped it out in terms of mathematics. So there was basically a program run for the facade to come to a character in terms of design. So we made a small equation out of these waves and tried to apply it in 4 levels and see how does it work. So it came out of a little program that we started to work it on, and this became an interesting thought process which can be actually taken by many such high density development. By introducing a small step-out balcony, not only that they will add to a shade factor, they will add a chhaja to the entire facade, cutting off the glare, but they can also add a character which can be sensibly used and used for both for our ODUs, greens, as well as personalizing. So we can expect one person to have bougainvillea, the other person to have something green, and that would add a lot of interesting facade by fauna. First, we have to provide for it, and then the world says yes to it. And that's the reason we thought that this would like to share with you. And that adds a lot of sense and sensibility to our design, and that would actually, facades which are more sensible and give sense to the city and people around should be done rather than just graphic interventions.